Welcome to Raging Bullets, a comics fan podcast, Season 2, Episode 24. We continue our discussion on absolute power.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding!
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge. I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensational sensei of the Whatnot Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to be tackling Absolute Power Part 2, and we're also going to be covering all of the August 2024 tie-ins. So please take a look at the show notes for all the books that are going to be encompassed in that. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
Remember, DCBS is not just a great home for comics, because it is. It's also a really great place to pick up statues, toys, apparel, and whatnot. Right now, I'm looking at a really cool John Wick statue. And it's got John, his dog, they're sitting on the pedestal. Absolutely brilliant looking. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, we have the deals of the week. We have Animal Man by Grant Morrison, $59.99 regularly, 50% off, only $29.99. Godzilla, the original Marvel Years Omnibus hardcover. There's 3 different covers available. There's $100 regularly, 46% off, only $54. And The Strange Case of Harleen and Harley trade paperback, $16.99 regularly, 50% off, only $8.49. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you have read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Nice work, Atom. What are these characters up to?
Jim, before we jump into this discussion, one of the things I want to shout out is I saw that documentary, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story, and it's a Fathom event for people out there that are looking for where to find this one. So it doesn't necessarily show every day, but there's an opportunity to see special screenings of this. It's an hour and 45 minutes. It is terrific. It tells the life story of Christopher Reeve. What it does is it kind of, I don't want to say it jumps around, make it sound like it's disjointed, but what they'll do is they'll tell some of his history, like his story, and then they'll jump to present day and focus on his family and some of the events that happened to Christopher Reeve, as far as, when he broke his neck and all those kind of pieces. It's strangely uplifting. And when I say strangely uplifting, it's obviously what happened to him with the paralysis is a very sad thing. What I loved about it was it's a story of a man who made it as a superhero and really was driven to deliver the Superman that we know and love, but it focuses on his strong relationship with Robin Williams. It focuses on Christopher Reeve's humanity. He wasn't a perfect man, and his relationship with the girl he was seeing where he originally had, his first kids. And I don't want to go through his entire life story here, but cool part is it focuses on various aspects of his life, various stages of his life. Every one of them leads to this kind of not giving up and positive kind of thing. The paralysis piece, and for me, was one I was fascinated by because he had a spinal cord injury that he was facing for his entire life, was doing all of this really good work to try and fund research towards curing spinal cord injuries and all those pieces. But also for fans of the Superman films, there is a nice documentary there about the history of the Superman films. And, what it was like to create 1 and 2, but then also kind of the trepidation around 3 and even 4. And what happened there. It's stuff that fans would geek out over. It's a really well-produced documentary. If you're interested in the man at all, if you're a fan of the Superman films at all, this is a must-see. It's just a great documentary that afterwards I just felt really good after walking out and seeing it, just at how people persevere when they're dealing with struggles. And that was kind of the feeling that I walked out of it. But it was really, really great, and I'd be remiss if I didn't shout it out. And because it's a Fathom event, I wanted to make sure to say something here in case people didn't realize it's out. Like, you are able to see it. And if you do a search for it, you should be able to find it. So for our first discussion this episode, we're going to jump in and continue our look at Absolute Power with issue number 2, which is Resistance. The writer is Mark Waid. The artist is Dan Mora. Colors by Alejandro Sanchez. Letters by Ariana Meyer. Cover by Dan Mora. Connecting variant theme cover 2 of 12 by John Timms. Variant covers by Stephen Bliss, Lucio Perillo, Tyler Kirkham, and Arif Prianto, Nathan Cerdi, Simone DeMeo, Ben Oliver. Power Participation variant cover by Salvatore Laraca and Laura Martin. Associate editor Matthew Levine. Editor is Paul Kaminsky. Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Superboy created by Jerry Siegel. Supergirl based on the characters created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster by special arrangement with the Jerry Siegel family. I have been jonesing to talk about this because this event has been one of those where it's really been a good summer for events. And I know we're heading in heavily into fall right now, but between what was going on over in the Marvel event and what's going on here, I'm just really, really enjoying this kind of in-depth look at superheroes. This one really plays off of a lot of the fears that are out there and the use of media. We're watching, when you open it up, the heroes being carted away as criminals and permanently locked away on Gomorrah Island. Amanda's planning some serious stuff. It's funny how this particular issue number 2 and the tie-ins worked, because there's some interesting reveals that actually aren't in issue 2 of Absolute Power, but occur elsewhere that we're going to have to talk about that have come off of this one. Because what we're covering everything basically that's in month 2 of Absolute Power here. So we'll be covering issue 2. We'll be covering Absolute Power Origins, the continuing of that one. And we'll be covering the next 2 issues of Task Force 7. So there's a lot to be discussed here. And a lot of the reveals I'm talking about really actually came about in some of those issues, not here. This story is an interesting one of the heroes scrambling, because we've got this war council of Amanda's that's been put together. Our heroes have to really respond to it. I really like Amanda's war council because, you're seeing that she has got a well-organized plan. She has all the right players on the table in her mind to be able to accomplish all of her goals. What's interesting is we know for a fact that Dreamer is not there by choice.
Right.
Oliver, we feel, is a double agent. And we've got Brainiac Queen, and we've got our failsafe, who really are Team Amanda all the way. So it's an interesting sort of group that she's got here that she has to know that Oliver isn't on the up and up, right?
It's the Wall. She has to know this.
Yeah.
But she thinks she's got control over him.
Yeah.
I don't know why she thinks that, but there's no way the Wall cannot suspect Ollie. Or it's one of those things where I knew you were a double agent all along. I planted blank, to stop you, waiting for you to turn on me, and then I do this. Like, she's got a fail-safe plan installed for Oliver. I'm saying fail-safe, not the fail-safe. I'm saying she's got a backup plan for when Oliver turns on her.
Yeah.
She's got to know it, because, again, in this month, we get confirmation that, yes, Ollie is definitely a double agent.
Yeah.
So that is awesome. We're both, I cheered when I read that part. And I was like, yes, Ollie, now we're getting you into the mix. But again, this has been just a great story in that they really are laying out that the heroes can lose.
Yeah.
And again, with comic books, the heroes are going to win. But you don't know what the final damage is going to be. You don't know what they're going to have to do to win the fight. And I think that's part of what's been going on with this story, because just when you start thinking the heroes are going to rally, the Wall drops another bomb.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely one of the best things about this story layout, in that, you get these moments where the hero's like, all right, now it's time to come back. Now it's time to kick some butt. Oh, wait, no, man, that's not done with you yet. Bam, we drop Superboy. Bam, we do this. Bam, we do this. Like, oh, man, it's outstanding. And you talk about this war council. I absolutely love the way this image is, drawn out.
Yeah.
Because you got the initial board of all these heroes who are still on the board. And as long as a hawk's on the board, we're okay. So we're still good. I figured I'd beat you to the punch. But I love the image of them standing there because it really shows how massive the Brainiac Queen and Failsafe are compared to all of them.
Yes.
You figure if Ollie's 6 feet, which I think that's where he is, Queen is at least 7, maybe 8. Same thing with Failsafe. Never knew they were that big.
Didn't either.
I love how this is drawn.
Yeah, it really gives an interesting sense of perspective and actually makes them more intimidating.
Yes.
Because they seem like imposing. They already seemed like imposing and creep. Talk about creep factor. Both of them have an immense creep factor to them, especially teamed up. You're right. I noticed that perspective too, and that's really great. The other thing about the board you're mentioning, where we're seeing the number of heroes that are down, those numbers are huge.
Yes.
I mean, it's a lot less that are still on the table. Like, we're seeing members of the JSA. We're seeing members of Doom Patrol. We're seeing some Titans. And we're seeing some members of the Justice League that happen to rally together, or Bat Family, respectively. But there's not a whole lot still on the table.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting sort of board when you take a look at it. And it shows how much Amanda's actually been able to accomplish with her plan. This was very well thought out.
Oh, big time. But again, this was, remember last issue where Bruce realized, oh, crud, she wanted us to come out in the open. She wanted us to come out.
Yeah.
And that was exactly why she did it. She pulled off so many players off the board on that opening salvo. And I was like, damn, that is sweet. Again, Waller is no idiot. Waller is the queen of strategery, flat out. And I love when you see the Wall in action. She's just this great villain. And I always do air quotes around villain, even though she is the bad guy and she is a villain. But I do love the fact that in her mind, she is 100% justified. It's one of the reasons I love about Lex, is because how justifying he does everything he's doing. He completely justifies it in his mind. He could pass the magic lasso test because he 100% believes it. Where he says, yes, I'm doing the right thing here. He 100% could pass the magic lasso test just because he is so convinced that's what's right. Same thing with the Wall. She 100% could pass the test saying, oh, no, this is 100% what we need to do. Yes, we need to imprison all of you without any trial, without anything, just because you are more dangerous if you are out there. I am making the world a safer place. She 100% believes that, and I love that about her.
Yeah. I think she's terrific in this. Well, the Fortress of Solitude piece was real interesting for me because if you want to add a sense of scope and scale, you start taking these places that were previously considered protected environments. Like, there's not a whole lot of battles that have taken place over the years in the Fortress of Solitude. They've only been ones where they're like Kryptonians who are, superpowered Kryptonians that happen to have a history back to Clark's people. Usually. You don't usually have armies going to the doorstep or, big assaults happening on the Fortress of Solitude. This was a very, very unique situation because of the fact that this is where the Wall really had an all-encompassing plan. It was, they aren't going to have a sanctuary. We are going to go out of our way to make sure that any of their protected areas would not be that spinning out of this. And the Fortress of Solitude's a key, this one, because Superman's here with Batman, and they're all there to regroup. They think they're safe. And you get why. Batman's there, Superman's there. I actually love Dan Mora's Batman costume.
Yes.
Everything about that, just like, it's what I want out of a Batman suit. Superman, the black costume and the variations of the black costume have always been like my hoorahs just because of Death and Return of Superman. I've got a soft spot for that particular costume just because when we actually got Superman proper back, that's what dude was sporting.
Well, and here's the thing I love about him in the black costume. It's because that's his healing costume.
Yep.
And again, you think about the thing. The black absorbs more light, so it'll help absorb more solar power into the Kryptonian, which is why it's his healing costume. I love the fact that there's it does look cool, so I'm not taking coolness away from it, but I do like the fact that there are actually a reason why it's designed the way it's designed.
Yeah.
So this is, again, I wouldn't want him wearing this all the time, but I'm with you. When I see him in it, I do do a hoorah.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I'm 1,000% with you. I don't want to see him wearing it all the time. I actually ditto to what you just said. I like that there's a functional reason to be wearing that suit, and that totally makes sense to me. Oracle having communications down, it's one of those pieces where at first I was like sitting here, but it's Oracle. Wouldn't Oracle be able to overcome that? And I'm sure she is, and that's the point that they're making. But part of the network that she has obviously would be tied into Cyborg, where it's now a much more advanced network because of that relationship. So part of her equipment, I guess part of her access has been severely nerfed because of Cyborg being off the table. And that part was something that I really enjoyed. You've also got a lot of egos here. And this happens in any group. A lot of them are used to leading their own squads, leading their own teams, leading their own nations. You know, if you go to Aquaman and the Atlantean people. So you've got people that are starting to fight, and people like Terrific fighting their own team. So you got people starting to fight over who is going to be the leader. What I loved is Nightwing here. And boy, their continued evolution of Nightwing has just been stellar. His book's been fantastic. Titans has been fantastic, and using him in events like this in this capacity where it's like he has matured into this role where he's kind of like, we're done. This conversation is over. I like how he just gets up and just starts giving his speech.
Yep.
Every head turns. The respect is immediately there, and he says absolutely all of the right things.
Yes.
And, you know, it's believable because he's being honest, he's being true, but he's laying direction. We do not have time for bickering. I'm not going to bother debating that with everybody. We're just going to get out and start putting together a plan. I love how Mr. Terrific's impressed immediately. Batman with his "That's my boy." I
cheered for that one.
I loved everything about it.
When I read that, I was like, "Yes, that's Bruce. I'm loving it."
Moment for moment, it was just a really great scene. And to be seen from the scale of the Fortress of Solitude, because we know this is a big facility, but to see all of them gathered, the perspective of looking up to him, we are in the audience. We are watching Nightwing give that speech. That was just, I thought that was a really great visual to be able to see that and to see the tears, because it's funny to look at the way that they did the perspective too, because you got the people on the ground who are just waiting for, you know, what are we going to do? What are the direction here? You got the Titans down there, and then up above you've got the members of the Justice League. The Titans aren't up there with them. They aren't bothering to be there with the arguing. They're already ready. Like, let's get some action in place. Let's get moving. I loved this.
One, Titans together.
Yep.
Of course, the Titans are all going to stand there. I do love the fact that they've got his back 100%, and you can see it.
Yep.
Two, again, as I said, I cheered with "That's my boy." But the other thing I also wanted to comment on, and I caught it in my art read-through, Nightwing's throwing out the commands to everybody. When he throws out the Batman, you got that great scene of him jumping down, and you see the backside of the utility belt. You know, and you see all the different gadgets, brilliant artwork on, what is the Bat utility belt. Of course, it's on the backside, hidden by the cape. The front side looks a lot cleaner. That backside's got a bunch of stuff back there, so Bruce can just reach behind, pull out what he needs. I loved how they did that. That was, for me, was a really cool art moment that I loved. And then after Nightwing's talking about, hey, we're in the fortress, there's an armory, everybody suit up. And you can see everybody powering up. Even Batman's costume has changed slightly.
Yeah.
He's picked up some modifications. He's armored up a little bit more than what he was normally. So this is now, it's still Batman, so he's got a bunch of cool stuff, but it's Batman to another level.
Oh, it's a lot more. His suit is completely armored now. Yeah. Actually, if you look compared to the Dan Mora piece, the original Dan Mora outfit, Dan Mora's outfit was much more...
He's armored up now. So I love that. I'm glad. Those are things I noticed. I'm like, oh, that is awesome. That right there is a really cool little extra tidbit.
Yeah, because they don't have powers, but I like how there's a confidence in them. Like, they're armoring up. This is just what they're going to do. They don't have their powers, but they're all looking to do something. Even Plastic Man with the guns. Yeah. Like, he's all ready to go. I really liked seeing that. I liked seeing that they were doing everything they can to arm up their people. It adds a lot more because it looks badass until you see the shadows coming to the door. And that's when the game starts to change. This was truly creepy. What they did to Superman, Superboy, I'm sorry, it is Superman. It's Superman. His son. John. I always get confused when I'm talking about two Supermen, to try and call them the same name. But John Kent, what they did to him, with having her right behind him, oh my gosh! You and I are big Star Trek fans, and this is Locutus.
Yes, this is 100%.
Yeah, which was truly Locutus. The Locutus episodes of Star Trek, The Next Generation, were truly creepy back in the day. They were claustrophobic. They were the idea of somebody screwing with your mind like that. What John's going through right here, this to me is at the most immense creep factor, where he is now being controlled. He's being manipulated. As a team, what they've got to deal with right now is everybody in there. There's at least they're either personally have a direct relationship with John, or they're on a squad with somebody who does. That's a big deal, because how do you respond to this? You can't kill him, because it can't be one of those where you sit there and go, this is what he'd want us to do. Let's take him out and that type of thing. This is like Superman's kid. This is Nightwing's protege. There's so many things in his history that like he's had direct connections with. They're too close. And that's where it's a brilliant attack, because so many of them are either because of their love for Superman or their direct love for John, have reasons to like sit there and go, we can't do what needs to be done. And I love that.
The other thing I loved about this was the fact that they're in the Fortress of Solitude, which is impenetrable, which is hidden, which is all these different things. John Kent knows all this, can bypass all of that. Mm-hmm. That's why the Wall did this to him.
Yeah.
Solely for this. And even earlier in the issue, she's like, Brainiac Queen, you're on frontal assault. You'll need a guide. I have someone for the job. I'm like, again, Waller knew they would run to this Fortress of Solitude. She knew that. She had John Kent. That's why they made sure to get John Kent in the last issues, in the previous stuff. She knew, I need a Kryptonian to do this too. I need him. So it wasn't just about taking their powers. It was about, I need one of them to be able to bypass the fortress, to get into the fortress, because she knew that's where they would run to. I love that about, again, the master of strategery is who Waller is. And this was just a great thing. And one of the things I loved about this, and I'm glad you mentioned the Locutus Star Trek Next Generation episodes, because if you think back to that affected multiple episodes as well as one of the movies.
Yep.
That was a deep, deep impact. We're going to have one of those deep impacts with John here. I think this is going to be a dramatic change of events for John. Because you think back, he's got some major events. His boyfriend's had some major events going on in his life because of this.
Yep.
This absolute power is going to end positively for the heroes, but this is one hero who's going to be dramatically affected by this, and I am eagerly looking forward to seeing how John, is dealing with the aftermath of this. Because I agree with you, they're not killing him off. They've got way too much better stories to tell with him alive, dealing with this, him dealing with the guilt of what he did, while under control, dealing with the guilt of how he let Waller manipulate him. This is, absolutely brilliant. I'm 100%. I love this story, how it's playing out. I love the action, loved everything they did, the gripping story, just the look of Clark's face. John, I love that, just that heartbreaking look. But then I'm also thinking the future, and I'm just salivating for those stories.
Yeah, I am too. And, to me, that's events at their best. You're totally captivated by the event. You get lost in it. You want to read more and more and more. No matter how you engage with it. It's, if you're doing, because there's different ways to approach an event, right? Sometimes there's a budget version where you've got to go, I can just read the story proper, and that just what fits into my budget, the budget of time or the budget of money. That's my engagement of the event. But that story should be gripping. You should feel that it's something that it's worth spending your time on. You also should feel, though, like there's going to be repercussions coming out of this. There's going to be something out of this that leads to storytelling that you want to be pulled into. This is all about serialized storytelling. So when you've got stories like this, they should make you want to read the books afterwards, And I feel like this is setting the stage, really, just a couple issues in, theoretically, for a much bigger set of stories that are spinning out of it, and aftermath is always a thing that should do this. What does this lead to, coming out of it that we're going to be intrigued by? The piece of all of these people being taken off the table, because as I was looking through even just the first couple pages, we see 6 people being taken off the table right away.
Yep.
That's another 6, to Batman's point, soldiers being taken off the table when they can't afford to be losing anybody else. We saw that board lit up, and my gosh, was that crazy to see. I did love the Zealot bit, where we've got one of those robots in there and Zealot comes in, and usually when Zealot shows up on the scene, there's like a major change. We learn about the healing factor.
Yes.
I kind of knew this was already in play. Like, I wasn't overly shocked by it, but it was great to use Zealot as the vehicle for that, where it's usually when Zealot leaves her mark, like, it's felt, and it's, like, solid. And I really liked the use of Zealot in this piece. To showcase the fact that the signature, and I like that there's a clue here, that energy. I know that signature, where have I? There's parts that are coming up. We were talking about it last episode with kind of the historical references and now this energy signature. There are clues here that need to be put together. Detective Chimp was heavily focused on some of this. And Bruce is putting these pieces together. John references later, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, that there is a way to defeat them, a way to gain the advantage in this situation, but he wasn't able to reveal it. There are some clues here that need to come together, and I think they're going to be super cool when we see what they are.
Yes. Oh God, yeah. And again, I want to add to this the Zealot thing of what you said, because the thing I loved about that was how artistically they threw it in there. We have one of the machines fighting, basically taking out the Titans. And just out of nowhere, out of the shadows is when Zealot strikes. And I love, again, that's that character 100%. Hits you from the shadows. She is that master ninja kind of, just killing machine.
Yeah.
And again, just showing that recharging, showing that, regeneration. It's absolutely brilliant. I loved how, again, they're making these characters so making them indestructible. How can they possibly think to defeat these creatures? How can they possibly think to take them down? There is no way. But that's where the heroes figure it out. That's what the heroes will figure it out. And again, like you said, having Bruce start saying, I know that energy. Having Bruce starting to put the pieces together. Again, this for me was just classic, brilliant writing of a story, just building on each other. It gets, every time we talk about this, we both hold off reading the next set of books because we don't want to, cloud what we're saying. But every single time we always talk about this stuff. As soon as we're done talking, I immediately jump on the next issue because this series has me so wrapped into it tightly. I'm like, I got to jump in on this.
That's probably the most sincere compliment I can give this one. It's something that I'm reading not because we're doing it for the show. And I felt the same thing with the Marvel event. It was, the story itself was just pulling me in. I wanted to read more. And that's when you're really getting a successful story. That's what the best of comics do. It's this kind of stuff. And I really feel like right now, man, I'm really DC happy. I mentioned the Superman documentary earlier. I started watching Penguin, which is really good. And I'm excited for where things are going. There was an announcement of a Jason Todd and Nightwing animated feature that's going to be coming out. It's like the DC news as it keeps coming out. We got the absolutes that we're going to talk, Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Superman that are coming. And there's going to be an Absolute Flash that's coming in February, I believe. I'm very excited to be talking about those. DC is really kicking it up, and I'm excited for more. The revival of Elseworlds has been really great, which is a good thing. This is just a great time to be a comic fan, and I'm hoping we're a voice of just more noise around that, because if you're not finding comics you're enjoying right now, you're not trying. Like, there's nothing wrong with not digging something. If you're feeling like, hey, I'm reading a book right now that's lackluster. The thing that you have that's an advantage right now, jump ship. read something else. This is a good time to give something else a try, because there is a plethora of choices out there right now that are just really, really good. So you don't have to agree with the things that we are liking and digging. The goal here isn't always to sit there and go beat you over the head and go, you got to agree with our opinion. We don't actually always, like, you and I may like some of the same books, and often we do, but there's often sometimes some really strong reasons why you're seeing a book one way and I'm seeing a book another way, and our enjoyment is coming from those pieces, not necessarily ones that are shared. And that's kind of a fun thing to talk about. I actually like seeing the books a lot more from your perspective, sometimes than my own, just because it's like watching a movie again, that you're kind of now being able to watch it through the lens of somebody else. It's the same thing with these stories. By the way, I want a Flash bike.
Yes.
Because
that does look cool, man.
The outfit and the bike and everything is way cool. I love that as a Flash costume. It looks like a functional Flash costume. And that, Don't get me wrong, I am a OG Flash costume. I love the Flash look, and the various variations on it over the years. But if you're going to give me a depowered Flash outfit and a bike, man, that was sweet. And I love that he was the one that is like, Kryptonite's our only option right now, because I can't have John killing Clark at the moment. So we've got to take him out. That piece is, as this battle's going on, we've got Batman going to battle with one of his kids, and he's trying to get the Phantom Zone projector, which is just such a, this is our great opportunity to use something where we can get these robots off of the table. I love that thought process. Like, open up a portal to the Phantom Zone. Let's make sure this is going to happen. And it just leads to a really cool sequence of events. Kandor being left in the background as their backup makes a ton of sense. You've got a bunch of Kryptonians that have not been depowered.
Yep.
That, like, we can unleash them, and now we've got a Kryptonian army. Oh my gosh, from a strategic standpoint, I love what this team is doing. That's where the Fortress of Solitude being violated right now is a huge problem for them, because this is an armory that they were strategizing major plans to try and take control, to try and even the odds. And that's not working out the way that they thought it was going to. That adds to this sense of danger, right? Because on paper, everything they're doing looks like this is what I would do. You know what I mean? Like, why wouldn't I do this? Of course you go to the Fortress of Solitude. Kandor, of course. We've seen that bottle for years. We got a bunch of Kryptonians in there. My gosh, is this going to be a cool battle if we can get these Kryptonians up and running, because they haven't been depowered yet. Makes a ton of sense what they're doing. I love that this assault on the Fortress of Solitude blows all of those plans up.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, within the battle, I loved how, you get the queens like, that's familiar. And for me, that's, I think, going to start triggering, like, start thinking, how are the heroes going to come back from this? We see in the Green Lantern one where Alan Scott's starting to get to him and just start to communicate, and he started making different choices. I think that this was the start for the Queen. Because you think back to the Queen was basically completely manipulated by the Wall.
Yep.
When she breaks that manipulation, when she realizes, hey, this is, this human has been lying to me, she's going to turn on the Wall. Same thing with all these different heroes. I think when they start, not heroes, the different machines, when they start realizing, why are we following this human's orders when we can do what we want? I think that's going to be a really neat turn on the Wall. Now, I want to see how the Wall planned for that, because she did. And, of course, John fighting back being John, because, again, he is called Superman for a reason. He does have that heart. He's got the heart, of Clark Kent and Lois Lane in him.
Yeah.
So that's somebody who's going to be able to fight, who's going to be able to resist this control. And I love that he was able to start resisting, and then the Queen steps in. He's going to keep finding the energy to resist it, and eventually we are going to get John back. Now, how it's going to happen, I don't know yet. When it's going to happen, I don't know yet. But I know we're going to get that moment when the wall's going to give him an order, and he's just going to say no. It's going to be flat out. He's like, I'm Superman. And he's going to do a Superman thing. Now, and again, I don't think it's going to be sacrificing himself, but we're going to get a Superman moment from John. I know we're going to. And like you said, I love the fact that Kandor was their, in case of emergency, break glass kind of moment. And it worked initially, but again, these are creatures who can depower, who can take out. They're prepared to fight Kryptonians. So, bam, Kandor's done. So I'm like,
Dreamer having that heroic moment because the place is going to self-destruct and they're all going to die, in that moment. And Dreamer has this chance to save everybody. Really just it's funny how much this is about hope, where, in life, there's hope. So in keeping these heroes alive and keeping them on the playing field, she's doing that thing by just giving them an opportunity to escape, an opportunity to regroup. We witnessed, though, the destruction of the Fortress of Solitude. That is a big event.
Yes.
And it again shows this event matters. What is happening here in this event is going to have ripple effects beyond this. What does Superman do now without his Fortress of Solitude? This was his source of Kryptonian information. Do we still have that other Fortress of Solitude? Remember the one I was talking about? The one that...
in the ocean?
Yeah. Does that one still exist?
I don't know if that's still in canon, because I was thinking that as well. Because didn't that one also get destroyed?
I think so, too. I'm throwing out the question because I don't fully remember. Yeah. But he had that other one, and I don't know. He's got like Batman. He's got like Fortress of Solitude annexes. I'm taking it from this story to mean that like this is the destruction of the Fortress of Solitude. Like this is a big problem. I think I think what's going to be fun is what I hope happens out of this. We eventually get a new fortress, and we get to see that process. But those are always fun to build towards, right? What is going to lead to Superman eventually getting a new fortress? Because I dig it, but it's like anything you take off the playing field. I kind of want to see where that piece is going to go. John having the point you're talking about, where we see John able to fight it at certain points in time. That part really stands out for me. Amanda's plan is vicious. I mean, it's just on just a completely different level of this. At what point in time do you become so evil and so corrupt that you have lost sight of the fact that what are you protecting here?
Yeah. Well, and again, it's, and I love Dreamer when she has her hero moment, where she's like, I'm done being your puppet, but she's like, she's out to remake the world in her sick and twisted way that brings nothing but pain.
Yeah.
And that is an actual very astute observation of what Waller's going to do.
Yeah.
What happens when Waller takes out all the heroes? So say Waller wins and all the heroes are done. Where does that leave people? She's got complete control. You're going to be, left in a world where if you don't toe Waller's line, you're done. So free speech out the window. Free elections out the window. Waller's going to pick the next president, and Waller's going to have the next leadership. What about other countries? It's the United States or no one else. So if you're another foreign country where you want to have your own independence, not in Waller's world. This is Waller's world now. So I love the fact that, it's one of those things I always laugh about when these villains want to, when they say they want to bring peace and just, order and this and that. No, you just want to conquer the world. You're just another conqueror, and, do they stop and think what happens next? What happens after I win? You look at some of like just history's, history's tyrants. Throughout the throughout the history of all the various megalomaniac tyrants who wanted to conquer the world, they never had a plan after they won. They had great plans to try to take over the world, but they never had that plan. After I conquer everything, this is what I'm going to do. They never have that mindset. It's always about what I've got to do to conquer, what I've got to do to take over, what I got to do, and the Wall is, again, doing exactly that. She's got plan after plan after plan on how to take out the heroes. I don't think she's got a plan for when I win, I will do blank.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, there's so much to talk about. We'll get let's get through this issue, and then let's talk about some of the other events because.
Last page.
Yeah, because
the last page, Ollie.
Yeah, because she's got Ollie, basically combing the vaults to try and find weapons and things for her to use. She keeps pointing out that he's the only one that really knows what all those things do, and here's the thing: we're both convinced, and I think this emphasizes the time's up piece. I think that for further emphasis, at least my assumption is Ollie's using that for the side of good. I hope. But Ollie's treading a very dangerous line that I think repercussions for him afterwards are going to be who trusts him and who doesn't after this. Because when you do stuff like this, I think he's doing the right thing. If he's doing what, in fact, you and I believe he's doing, I'm totally Team Ollie. I totally think he's doing the right thing. But it is one of those things where not everyone is going to understand why he did what he did. Not everyone's going to forgive him because this has had major repercussions. People died, people got hurt, people got manipulated, and this is not... Ollie coming out of this is not going to be, embraced universally.
I'm thinking maybe the Arrow family will be okay with him.
Yes.
But the rest of the hero community is going to be like Traitor.
Yeah.
And he's not going to have a friend in the hero community.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's going to be, again, he's another character that what happens after this is going to be very interesting. Because we're seeing in his book, I don't know if you chance to read issue 15.
Yes.
Flat out, him coming back and, throwing down against Waller's goons.
Well, and it's an interesting sort of piece. It's basically, Leon, is in danger at that point. And it's the piece where Ollie steps up and says, get the hell away from my granddaughter.
Yeah.
And I've read all the tie-ins relating to this. That Green Arrow to me is a must-read book to basically see his family's response to what's going on, because they're not sure. I feel like they're all over the place.
Yeah,
as any family would be, based on their age, based on their experiences with Ollie, who is, believing that Ollie is still on the side of the Angels, who is believing that we've lost Ollie. It's really interesting to see their reaction to this whole thing. And all of them trying to fill a gap that's been left by Ollie. Because, in various ways, we've got Connor Hawke, a.k.a. the new Green Arrow. He's donned the mantle of Green Arrow again because of the fact that he feels like Dad's kind of giving up the mantle right now.
Yeah.
Ollie has deliberately set them up, at least from the way I'm reading the story, to take advantage of everything that he's left behind. Recognizing that I really feel like Ollie's recognizing this might be a point of no return for him. And he's setting them up to be successful, to carry on in place of him. At least that's how I'm reading it. And I love that. I think it's a really cool way to progress with the character. Joshua Williamson's writing a really good book over here.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact, again, in the book where we go back to that whole thing that John gave him. That is the key to taking down, to destroying the Justice League should the need ever arise.
Yeah.
And again, we never knew what that was. And now Ollie's digging it up. Now, is he digging it up to give to Waller? Is he digging it up to use against Waller?
The robots.
Yeah, exactly. To use against the robots. So, I love the fact that now, again, I'm thinking he's digging up to take down the robots. But, again, it's kind of a neat thing that they're tying into something that was so, I don't remember how many years ago that was, that they had that. So I was, again, absolutely loving how this thing played out.
Yeah. I feel like everything Ollie's doing is he's making moves to take out the robots.
Yeah,
and he's putting himself into a position that if he had stayed with the former members of the Justice League and had banded with them right now, he would not have been in the position to take advantage of the equipment and things that have been left behind.
Right.
The tie-ins for everybody listening to this piece, the books that are tying into this is Batman with issue 151. We have Green Arrow number 15, Green Lantern number 14, Superman 17, and Wonder Woman number 12 are the books, at least for this particular month that we're covering, that we're doing that. They're all, I don't know that we're going to go into every single one of them in this discussion. That's not diminishing them, but I will say each one of them brings something really great to the table as far as expanding the story of these particular characters. The book I'd really like us to talk about first, if we could, is Origins. Because
yes.
I think the Amanda Waller origin story is something out of this that I was not expecting as a part of this event, and really kind of enjoying seeing how she came to power. From her perspective, seeing how Suicide Squad came to be. You know, that I mean, that part's really fantastic. And the idea that they didn't start off with these bombs in their head, that was something that came from her, quote unquote, helping somebody else who had that in their head. Yep. And Waller recognized this was technology that, like, okay, not a bad idea. I can use that to kind of control the people that I were uncontrollable before to build a better ship. Like when her first group fails, let's make a second squad. But this time we're going to do it just a little bit differently.
I loved how this kid who Waller brings in, and he's like, I didn't mean to hurt anybody. I'm just trying to help my family. Then by the end of the book, he's like, hey, we've got all this power. Why are we turning it over? I love the fact that he flipped on Waller, that he tried to double cross the wall. And what happens when you double cross the wall?
Yeah, no, she is. Wait, I love what was going on with her daughter. Yeah. Her daughter was going to get married to that guy, and Waller goes into the tax office and's already got dirt on him. It was like, I'm like sitting here like, oh my gosh, she like is universally this person now. She has got to be a hard soul to have a relationship with. What I love about her story is this, though. There is a logic and pathway that made her the person that she is. And while I totally disagree with her pathway, it's always interesting when you can understand how the person got where they are. And that's where it's a brilliant story. She was wronged. Her family was wronged. And you could see how she could have been, if circumstances had changed, or even the slightest variation to some of her circumstances. In another world, Amanda Waller might have been a hero in the way we think of it. Just one thing after another led her to realize that unless she controlled the system was going to keep wronging her. I absolutely, she really is dealing with a system that she feels is broken, and she does not want others to go through what she did, and feels like the only way to do that is to be able to control everybody and everything so that they start heading in what her perception is of the right direction. That's the key there, her perception.
The story I would love to read is a what if the Wall's husband didn't die?
Yeah.
Or what if when the Wall's husband died, the police did the right thing by it?
Yeah,
and treated it instead of him committing a crime, but actually saying, "Hey, this is a guy who's going after," and they actually honored him.
Yeah,
and not put her against the system, and had her actually work within the system. How would that have changed who the Wall is? Would she have because she's still a Wall, so I can still see her getting involved, but would she still have this hatred of vigilantes? Would she still have this, this desire to burn them to the ground? That's the story I would love for someone to tell.
Did you read What If? I mean, were you a What If reader at any point?
Oh, yeah, I used to read that all the I
love What If. I mean, it's great. I mean, I know it's a Marvel property.
Yeah.
But I would so love to have an ongoing, and it'd be something like with these digital apps nowadays and stuff. I'd love them to experiment with, doing these type of stories. Although my feeling right now is, if it's published digitally, it should eventually wind up in paper. Just because I think let's not divide the market. Provide the opportunity. We're all different kinds of collectors now. I've become very much a hybrid collector, where I love my digital stuff. I love my paper stuff just as much. I'm collecting, collector's editions and art books and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I love physical ownership. But I feel like right now, comics fandom in general is a very unique community in that what it was even 5 years ago is very different now. I think readers are kind of all over the place in how they approach collecting. I think comic companies are trying to figure out like how to react to that. And I don't think they've gotten there yet. And I get it. And it's, I think the what comes down to it at the end is monetizing it so that way that books can make it, creators can make money, comic shops figuring out how to deal with this new hybrid, which it sounds strange to say it's new because it's been around for a long time, but I think exponentially from COVID on, the game changed in a very, very different way. It something that was a much more of a slower movement was forced by the fact that we couldn't get to stores. And then there was a lack of comfort to going to stores for the longest period of time, but people still want to read. So I think it opened up a forced digital readership that some people just stuck with, that I think is something that companies have got to figure out going forward in order to continue functioning, if that makes any sense. And comic shops, there has to be a way to... I love comic shops. I still love going to comic shops. Every time I go on vacation, locally, I'm actually back to, this is going to seem very strange, when I just talked about the fact that I'm very much a hybrid reader. I will say right now, I'm actually going to comic shops more now than I was before COVID. And I'm just finding myself going in and either filling in collection blanks, sometimes grabbing new books that I want physically because of the fact that, man, I really enjoyed reading that. I'd kind of like the alternate cover. I'd like a copy of it to get signed or just to have in my collection. It's strange how my reading now is drawing me into the comic shops in a different way than before it was the comic shop drawing me to digital. That reversal is something that's very different. But I'm enjoying visiting multiple comic shops. I visit some of the ones by my work on the way home, and sometimes I'll visit the local ones, here on the weekends. It's kind of like a flip-flop between them. But I think I'm back to almost weekly. If I'm not weekly, I'm pretty darn close to weekly hitting comic shops again, and loving every minute of it. But it's my reasoning. And what's drawing me in is a reversal of what it was before. It's my reading digitally that's drawing me to the comic shops. And I love that synergy is like I'm really excited to go to the comic shop now, and I'm just enjoying it. So it's an interesting sort of piece. Waller, flipping back to Waller and talking about her piece, look at that first Suicide Squad. Yeah. I mean, it's a collection of a mishmash of villains. I love seeing Johnny Sorrow there because he's one of my favorite JSA villains from the Jeff Johns run. In particular, how Jeff Johns used him in that piece. But front and center is Lobo. This just looks like a team of misfits that you're like, okay, I could see why the Wall's first version of this maybe didn't go the way that it was intended. But there's an interesting humor value in this piece, while at the same time you see the formations of who the Wall would become in how she's handling this piece. Because she's standing off with Lobo. This is very early on in her career with a swagger and a confidence that we still see out of her today. She has become, because of life's circumstances, has become a very strong woman. I'm sorry for how she got here, and I'm sorry for who she became because of it, but you can't argue with the fact that that is a strong woman staring down Lobo right there.
Yeah, well, the reason we call her the Wall isn't just because her last name is Waller. Mm-hmm. It's not just a cute little play on her name. She is a wall. She is a wall of force. And again, it's one of the great things about that, about the character, especially when you write her correctly, you get the Wall. And right here, I'm loving how this played out. She's just standing toe to toe, no bat an eye, no stand out to Lobo. And Lobo can be very intimidating because Lobo doesn't care. Doesn't care about everything. He cares about one thing, and that's the main man getting paid. And I love, again, she knows how to manipulate. She knows how to handle. She knows how to get the people to do what she wants them to do. With Lobo, it's about the money.
Right.
So right there, that's how you get Lobo to toe the line.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that part is interesting. I like when they're going up against, it's Task Force X, they're going up against the Great Sun. It's that group. Their enemies look impressive. They're colorful. It looks like you could see them having a tough time between it. What was interesting is Clarence, who was, the one who the wall kind of got through first. She realizes that Clarence has turned on her. Yeah. And it's her first reality of I think she thought Clarence was rock solid and Clarence understood her and that Clarence wasn't going to do that. So that was, again, a betrayal that furthered the foundation of the wall. Because you see, that shock is genuine. How often do we these days see that kind of shock on the wall? You don't.
Right. Oh, no. And again, the reason I loved it so much was because I was right along with her where I was like, oh, that is awesome. Of anybody turning on the wall, I was not 100%. I was not seeing that kid. He was the golly gee willikers. He wants to be a hero. No, the kid really is again, it was a misread by the wall. She read him as a person who wants to be a hero who made a mistake. Oh, no, he's always been a thief and a crook and a liar. He just pretended to be golly gee willikers. I'm sorry, Miss Waller. I didn't know what I was doing. Oh, no, he knew exactly what he was doing when he got busted.
Yep.
He was robbing that bank. It wasn't just out of desperation. It was out of money. It was out of greed. So he played the wall. And that, again, I love the fact that what happens when you play the wall? Boom. You blow up real good.
It does go to show, though, why she doesn't really build relationships.
Right.
Even people like Flag and stuff like that, who traditionally we thought are partners of the wall and things like that, you start to see that she never lets that relationship get too close now. These are examples of why. We're foundationally seeing why those things happen. I love when a well-crafted story explains previous storytelling. You look back at that and go, wow, this totally fits with everything Ostrander was doing with Suicide Squad. This is great. I really love those attentions to detail where this is where continuity gets fun. When somebody sits there and goes, okay, these stories were in canon. Let's wrap that thought process into this and let's make it all work. And it takes time to do that. It takes a well-versed storyteller. This all works with everything that came before. I love that. I absolutely love that. Where this story does feel like it's an origin that could lead right into those issues with Ostrander. Just we didn't know it. This is what happened predating it, and it all makes sense. I love her conversation with Lobo. Yeah. Like, I need you to kill Cyclotron. What? Why? Because I'll double your money. Yep. And look, we're not having a conversation around this. Lobo just does it, and everything blows up. She knew that was going to take everybody out. Nobody else knew the bomb he had inside him but the Wall. Wall knew, like, all witnesses, gone.
Yep. And again, uses it to their advantage. That this Russian country detonated a nuclear bomb. U.S. had nothing to do with it. Again, the Wall manipulating the world. It's again, absolutely brilliant. But again, I love that little bit when they're like, hey, good thing you did the cleanup. We found this. And I'm like, oh, the beginning of the suicide bombs. Yes.
Yeah, such a great story. It did lead to, the book has that confrontation with her and Coretta. That was a piece where she's playing her daughter. Because you see in the conversation she's having with Coretta, the hug, the look on the Wall's face after the hug with Coretta, no matter how ugly it is, it's people who have the ability to confront the truth who survive. I promise. She's hugging her, and you look at her eyes. She played her daughter there.
Yes. She plays everybody.
Yeah.
That's the Wall.
Yeah.
And again, we said it multiple times throughout this episode. You can have a personal relationship with the Wall.
Yeah.
She 100%. It's all business. She will double cross anybody she needs to for her objective, including her children.
The story wraps up with the confrontation with the president and, the wall building a brand new heading for her Suicide Squad, based off of the research with Clarence. This becomes the pathway, and we see a much more traditional Suicide Squad on the board there, knowing that those are going to be the first people that get hit with all that, including Flag. I like that Flag was there, Bronze Tiger's there. Yep. Some of the major players that we're used to. I love this kind of stuff. This has really been a great miniseries. If you're not reading this, you don't have to be reading, at least right now, you don't have to be reading Absolute Power to be enjoying this. But man, it's great if you're reading Absolute Power. If you're just a fan of Amanda Waller, read this mini. It's a great mini. So let's talk Task Force 7, issue number 4, The Fury of Failsafe. This Task Force 7 book is really, really good because it focuses and spotlights on particular robots, but it also gives us a chance to see the reactions of specific groups. Like, it's great to see, like, this one kicks off in Gotham City with Voodoo. And it was nice to see some characters spotlighted that we haven't seen in a while. Because what's happening is, as the characters have gone underground, they've banded together with people who have been previous teammates. And we get to see Failsafe starting to go after some of Batman's associates. Which would make sense considering the fact that, his whole background was based on the Bat family. The Maze of Owls conference wing, where we get to see, Tim Drake has banded together with the Ray, Ms. Martian, some of the characters that, we haven't seen in a while brought into this world. Because I love stories that remember that the DC universe is a very large and vast place. And there's characters who've had story arcs, and they've had things that have happened to them. And Ms. Martian is, in particular, having a bad reaction to all of this. Because she doesn't have her powers, because she considers herself dangerous right now, she's afraid that she's not useful to any of them. She was in a situation due to what was going on around her that she almost, in her mind, almost killed Nightwing with the sword that she threw. And I actually it's nice to see these characters vulnerable, because Ms. Martian's usually a very powerful character. John Jones is a very powerful character. But when you see them depowered, it's where do you get the inner strength from? Is it from the powers, or is it from the fact that just internally you are a good person who's motivated to do good things? And you see a lot of character in these moments where, through just a pep talk from Nightwing, she's back on board, and she's helping out. And I really liked seeing that.
Well, again, I loved this one, the usage of the Maze of Owls.
Yes.
Because where would be the one place a Bat family would not go to is, of course, Court of Owls. Yeah. So perfect hiding spot. But again, this is, Failsafe, who is trained to think like the Bats. That's one of the primary purpose of Failsafe was to take down the Bat family. So naturally, now with some upgrades, they're even more dangerous. So they would naturally go to the Maze of Owls. They would naturally think this would be a hiding spot for them. The Bat family is going to avoid the caves, going to avoid any of the previous stuff. They're going to go right there. And I love the fact that Failsafe knew this, and Failsafe knew to go there. But again, this for me was just a brilliant story of who the Bat family is, how they're thinking, how they're improvise, adapt, overcome. Everything you said about Ms. Martian, I love the fact that she doesn't have her powers, so now she's back to her natural form, which is 4 arms, white-skinned, and very creepy-looking. And I love the fact that she's this way now. This, for me, was absolutely brilliant. Again, brilliant storytelling on who these different characters are. 100% they're on top of game, on top of who Tim Drake is, who Dick Grayson is. This was a brilliant read for me. I love this. And I'm loving that each of these different task forces are focusing on a different robot, giving us a little different insight into what makes this thing tick.
Yeah, absolutely. And that part is something that's really struck. The battle with Voodoo and Failsafe was something that I found that was really great too, because, Failsafe has some assumptions about Nightwing. And I love that Nightwing kind of keeps him on his toes, because he's sitting there, a lifetime of training, having barely kept that empathy from becoming a liability. And I love that in Nightwing's sequence, when Nightwing flips over him, It's a typical, like, everything Nightwing does is for a reason.
Yeah.
It's what I was talking about economics before. With Nightwing, there's an economics of motion. Like, that guy doesn't just do his flips and acrobatics for the purpose of being, like, way cool, and because he is, but there's always a reason for it, too. He uses that as an opportunity to get in close and to be able to do something, because you see that tack, from behindhand. You knew he did something. And I love that, the explosion there. I think Nightwing knew this isn't going to take out Failsafe, but it's going to buy time.
Yeah.
And time is everything in these moments. It's a chance to be able to escape. It's a chance to be able to put some distance between. It's a chance to come up with a better attack strategy. And that's something that's really great. Failsafe knows Nightwing because of Batman's understanding of Nightwing. What he doesn't know is Nightwing's thought process. And it's one of the areas where Nightwing has an advantage. It's, Batman studied him, yes, but Nightwing's continued to evolve and grow and often surprises Bruce. We saw him surprise Bruce in Absolute Power #2 when all of a sudden steps up, just takes control of the situation and does it in a way that Bruce would never have done. And a lot of the other people in the room would not have been able to do, because he's Dick Grayson. That's something that always gives an advantage in situations like this, where you've got a master strategist who thinks they've got all the answers, and they don't. There's a small window, and sometimes all you need is that small window. And this is something that I really enjoyed how this whole thing played out. So, really, really interesting to see the battle between Failsafe and the team that was going on here.
And it is cool to see Failsafe have the strategery. He has that tactical mindset.
Yep.
Who to go after first. Looking at Megan in the Ray, Magan in the Ray. Which one do you take out? Oh no, take out Magan, because I break her arm in a vicious way. That will freeze up the Ray. He will freeze. Yeah, because he's not used to this brutal brutality. And then same thing, that will give him an opening on Nightwing. And again, this is an evil version of the Batman right here. And I love that, but plus also love the upgrades, because they did some major damage. He's oh wait, no, recharge, he's back to normal. Like, oh, this is Failsafe with an upgrade, guys. I love just that moment where they have no idea what he's capable of. He's beyond what Failsafe was before, because of Brainiac Queen, because of Waller, because of everything they're doing, all the upgrades this system has had. It's unbelievable, and I love that.
His whole speech with Nightwing was really, really cool. You couldn't do that, could you, when he's looking at Magan? Cripple a person to save a person. Or cripple a child to save a person. What about to save a family? Or a city? You don't know Batman's purpose, Dick. To make sure no one dies. Not even his enemies. Not even you. And you, all of you, will get yourselves killed. Don't you feel it? How no one believes people who do wrong are punished anymore. But you and your friends keep fighting the same problem the same way. You say it's integrity, compassion, empathy, when it's all just ego. Lines in the sand so you can feel superior while innocents die because you hold back. You refuse to admit the world's changed, things are harder now. You're a leader. You naturally inspire people to follow your example, to do what you do, which means every death, every wound, every scream of pain happens because you wouldn't do more, because you didn't care enough to adapt. I mean, what a line. Woo. Good intentions get you only so far. I just loved that whole speech when you're sitting there. I don't agree with Failsafe. I think what Dick Grayson does is much harder, because you're trying to keep from society going down his rabbit hole. But you see how people would be entranced by that, right? By that Batman.
Yeah.
We've had that Batman before. That was Asbats. And we saw how well that worked. But I love that Failsafe is that same thing. It's Batman without Bruce Wayne, without the humanity, without the conscience. It actually is some of Bruce's mistakes as far as, what he would do to keep Batman going. And instead, what Bruce has really done to keep the concept of Batman going was to inspire people like Dick Grayson. That's really the piece. He doesn't need failsafe. He needs more of what he's done with Dick Grayson.
Yes.
And letting Dick Grayson take what he's learned from Bruce and continue to evolve it to the changing times. That's the piece that, it's funny, failsafe is calling Dick Grayson the failure, when in all honesty, Dick Grayson is the true failsafe.
Yes, he's the one who truly will protect Gotham if the bat goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
As opposed to failsafe. Yeah, I completely agree. But I do love the fact that this machine, and I did air quotes around the word machine because I'm not 100% sure he's just a pure machine anymore. I'm not 100% convinced any of them are pure machines anymore.
Yeah.
I love how he breaks down everything, even after Megan attacks him, gives a break, to get the team out of there, and blows up the floor, bringing it down on top of failsafe. But it's not just to try to take out failsafe; it's to get her friends out of there. She sacrificed herself to get the rest of the team out. But even failsafe breaks that down, saying, "Yeah, you won this battle, but I'm still going to win. Batman always wins." And I love just that notion that failsafe is having, that he is Batman. He's not failsafe anymore. I love the fact that he is thinking that Batman plans for everything, and he's constantly referring to himself as Batman. He is Batman. And I love just that notion that that's where failsafe is going with this. Each of these different robots are going in a different direction. And I love that's where failsafe's going. I'm really curious, how do you take out failsafe? That's the one I don't know how they're going to take him out. The others, you can take away powers, maybe get them to, get their personnel. But failsafe, he's 100% locked in on his mission. You got to physically take out failsafe. And how do you do that?
Failsafe has been a really great creation, as far as a creep factor. Like this is an example of a villain that can reoccur, and be brought up and be played with by any creator. And I love when new toys are created. That it's something that is, I think, something that's really neat that's come out recently. Chip Zdarsky took the stuff that we were enjoying. I love the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. I always loved that concept, because you could see Bruce Wayne going too far and doing, because that's some crazy stuff where you're creating an alternate personality, that kind of stuff, as kind of your backup. But, being able to have that conscience transferred over into a robot that then, is going to kind of be the robot you that, is untethered. That's some crazy Batman stuff. And over the years, we've kind of seen that from Batman. It's an example of strategy gone wrong. Bruce sometimes gets it wrong. I like that about Bruce, actually, because you don't want, no hero should be perfect, because then they become unrelatable. Then they're on this pedestal, and it's kind of like, okay, where's there something interesting? What's far more interesting is being human, having flaws, having, sure, these immense strengths and things. You got to find the right balance of immense strengths that make them cool, but also flaws. Even Dick Grayson, who, we're applauding in this piece, Dick Grayson many times has hit rock bottom. He's had issues. It's far more interesting when those characters rise above them and keep coming back for more. They're much more relatable as people. Can we talk a little bit about the Flash story in the next issue?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think issue number 5 was really, really good with the Velocity piece, because a character we haven't seen a whole lot of in this has been Barry Allen. And it's nice to kind of see what actually was happening to Barry in this particular piece, as he was running through. Because Barry still has his powers, and Barry's making a run, and he's being chased by the robot who's trying to, take down all the speedsters. And he's just seconds away from being taken down every single time. And this is it's a different sort of battle with Barry, because Barry always promises Iris he's going to come back. And in this one, Barry doesn't feel he's going to come back. Barry feels this is it. I hope that's in fact not the case in this scenario, because I love Barry, but I love that this issue is filled with a immense sense of danger.
Well, and again, it goes back to the Flash. You run towards the danger. You don't, and it's, been really cool in showing who Barry is. And I loved how, that Velocity is able to tap into all the different Flashes. And even the one time when going through the trying to figure out, okay, which Flash do I go with? Comes up to Jay and thinks Jay's useless. No, Jay's got a lot of power. If he had actually knew more about Jay, he could have used Jay's power to tag into Barry and gone right to Barry. But he doesn't know Jay's powers. He doesn't know, Jay's power set. Because you think about it, how Jay can teleport to where a Flash is. He could have teleported right to Barry, using Jay's powers, but he doesn't completely understand Jay's powers. He's very simple in what each of the different speedsters can do. And I loved how, through looking into Barry, looking into Barry's memories, going to Barry's life history, this, Velocity is starting to figure out, okay, I got to learn more from this guy. And again, this is the original Flash. Yes, I know Jay Garrick was the Flash before him, but in reality, this is, the OG Flash.
Well, they actually reference that, though, that he's not the original. I actually like that the story does not reference him, as they reference that there was one before him.
Yeah. And I agree, yes, technically there was, but in reality, come on, this is the OG Flash. And I do love the fact that we get these moments of Barry being Barry. He has this massive thing chasing after him.
There are people, wait, there are people slamming down their whatever they're listening to this on, going, he is not the OG Flash, because he's not. There's nothing that you said there that's right.
Okay, he's the OG Flash in my mind. How about that?
The Golden Age Flash is called the Golden Age Flash for a reason, because he was around in the Golden Age. And hence making him the OG Flash. It's interesting, though, because Silver Age, if you started reading in the Silver Age, Barry was the guy. And you're right. So, I mean, to many people, here's the thing. For a lot of people, Wally's their OG Flash.
Yeah.
So
and again, that is something that is, neat about the Flash family. Because, remember, I always said Bart was my Flash. Because when I first started reading The Flash, Bart was the Flash. Then you're always talking about Wally being your Flash. And then, then we bring back Barry and we have those really cool moments and we're both like, Barry's awesome. And again, I think that's the strength of the Flash character. When you look at who all the different, the energy that is a Flash. It's not just about super speed. It is about, heart. It is about, just the never say die attitude that a Flash always has. Regardless of whichever Flash you're talking about, they have that never say die. Bruce always had, Clark, Bruce has his dark energy, criminals are superstitious and cowardly lot. Superman has the hope. Wonder Woman has, the ambassador of peace, love, truth, and also able to seriously kick your butt. The Flash is, again, I said it before multiple times, Flash is the blue ring. Flash truly is the hope. When they had the color war, Flash was the one who got the blue ring that inspires hope, because that is what the Flash does. You had that great, again, I always throw back to that great moment in the police station when he tells the cops, I know it seems bad, but you tell them the Justice League is on this. We got this. And there's that one moment of inspiring, the police are like, yeah, we got this. Flash is on this. All right. And you have that moment when the undead is rising, and just all the nastiness that was coming down. But the Justice League, we got this. That to me is always going to be the Flash. And I tell you, I love these great Barry moments when you see him as a young person. You see him training Wally. You see him, his first thing when he's got a bullet in his chest and he's got to pull it out so he can talk to the girl. You got to love that about Barry. Yeah. And just how Velocity is studying these moments, trying to figure out who and what is this Barry? What is this Flash? Why is he so pivotal in the Flash universe and the Flash family? Why can't I get to him yet? How is he able to evade me? I'm faster, more powerful. How is he able to do this? I love just all that concept, because that's the stuff that's going to make Barry win the fight, because who Barry is.
Yeah, and what I really love, too, is that we're seeing these events that we've read for the Flash through the eyes of the robot. It's adding another layer. it's in many ways we're seeing portions of scenes that we didn't get to see before. To a certain extent, if that makes sense, because of the fact that you're seeing it through the eyes of somebody else. It's like adding another narrative, another dialogue to it. And I really enjoy that piece, too. I think it's very, very clever. Iris's reaction to the kiss from Barry was something that really struck me on this piece. Because she felt something different in the kiss. Because Barry's telling the story very, very differently. Backwards, forwards, through walls and worlds, and across whole damn planes of existence. God, even before I met you, I was always running to you. It's a very different commentary from Barry than what we're used to seeing when it comes to Iris. There's a lot of love there. But in that sequence, Iris realizes Barry's saying goodbye. Barry is not in that moment saying, I'm going to be back. I'm going to promise you I'm going to be around. She's referencing the deal between the two of them.
Yeah.
He is basically saying, I don't think I can keep the deal. That adds a very big sense of danger there with these two, because I was like, it was emotional. It was like a really well-written sequence where I'm sitting here, no, I don't like where this is going. I don't like this at all. No, Barry. I felt Iris in those moments. And I love when you get scenes like this, that they hit you. I don't know if it was just me, but that scene, when I was reading that, I'm like sitting here, oh, no, this is not good at all. I'm Team Iris on this one. I'm feeling the same doggone thing. This is not going well.
Well, and again, earlier we said John Kent. There's no way they're killing off John Kent.
Yeah.
We're not 100% certain on Barry.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. We've seen Barry run into into non-existence before to save everybody. We've seen Barry make that sacrifice before. I can 100% see Barry making the sacrifice to take down Velocity, to get the release of the Speed Force back to the other speedsters. I can 100% see that, which I'm very terrified of. Because again, I'm really digging Barry. I like the concept that we have with all the different Flashes out there. I like that. Granted, I'm making jokes about the OG Flash, but I love Jay Garrick, and I do love having Barry, Wally, Bart, all of Wally's kids. I love just that concept of the multiple Flashes that are out there. So I don't want to lose any of that, and I especially don't want to lose Barry. I want to see Barry and Iris have a happily ever after.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, for me, I would love to see Barry's sacrifice being that he no longer is a Flash. He's still alive, but he's no longer a Flash. Yeah. And he and Iris can have a happily ever after. I would be ecstatic on that story, because we'd still have Barry. We'd lose him as a Flash, but we still would have Barry around. I want to see Barry have a happily ever after.
Why does he have to give up being Flash to have a happily ever after?
No, he doesn't have to. But again, thinking about with me, Barry Allen and sacrifice always go hand in hand. For some reason, I'm always thinking Barry's going to have to sacrifice something.
But how about maybe we don't let him sacrifice?
Well, no,
to me, the happily ever after for Barry would be that Barry can stop sacrificing.
Yeah, ideally, that's the perfect story where Barry stops Velocity without losing something.
Yes.
That's the dream ending.
Yeah.
You've got your tragic ending. You've got your dream ending. You've got your, okay, I can live with this ending.
Yeah, I truly hope out of this one that we don't lose Barry. And my reason for that is we lost Barry enough. Yeah. I love Barry's story and seeing where Barry goes. And I was fine with him becoming the Space Flash, what they were doing, where they were he was part of that, multiverse study team. And I thought that was a real good solution for him. It's kind of like we're going to have Wally be the main Flash, but Barry's still there. Barry's just doing multiverse stuff. Yeah. And it kind of made sense. When you think about Barry's history with that, it really was a good way to say that, he kind of graduated to be, top scientist Barry. And that part really worked for me storyline wise with him. I'm going to be curious I'm glad they're doing something with him in this story, because boy, would that have been a missing piece, right? Okay, so they took down all the Flashes. What about Barry? What was Barry doing all this? Yeah. The guy was twiddling his thumbs or something like that. Why wasn't he involved? This issue was critical for me because he's a major player. So I don't know where this story is going to go. And they have me worried. And that's something, whether they do something to Barry or not. What's important is that this story gives you this sense of, wow, anybody could be hurt by this. And what are they going to do at DC? It's one of the things when you've got a lot of these legacy characters and you've got, the opportunity to really screw around with somebody because of that and still have a Flash, still have a Superman, still have a Batman. In those scenarios, when you're doing that, it adds this sense of danger to either them or their supporting cast. And DC's shown that they're not afraid to screw around with them. Speaking of people that I'm worried about, Steve Trevor.
Oh, big time. 100% worried about Steve Trevor.
Yeah.
And again, they've done this brilliantly through because each of the issues have their own robot, but they also have the Trevor story. First showing him there, showing him getting away, him running undercover because Trevor is a spy. He's, yes, he's a soldier, but he is also a spy. And I love how he's infiltrating them and he's seeing what Waller's plans are. And I love how in the last issue they showed him building the device, him going, hey, what is this? To actually seeing what it is. And you're just like, oh, God, this is not going to end well for the Wall. This is not going to end well for humanity.
Yeah, it's... So, that gateway opens up and we get to see that it's the crime syndicate. And let's just throw that out there. It's the crime syndicate that comes over to the other side here and they're working with the Wall. Now, what's really, really interesting on this one is, Amanda has them as an insurance policy. That's how she's viewing them, as an insurance policy. It's problematic, this insurance policy that she's put in place, because it's an interesting sort of almost double standard. So Amanda thinks that our superhumans are evil.
Yeah.
And because of their powers and things like that, it sets them apart. So she enters into this relationship as an insurance policy where what control does she have right now with this particular group? It's an interesting sort of relationship. I'm intrigued by this. I want to see where this is going. I'm floored by this. This was a reveal I was not expecting in this issue to see. But it makes sense with past, especially over the past couple years, storytelling with Amanda Waller. Like this, they're perfect. The setup was here for this. So it's not like it's out of left field when you take a look at where Amanda's been in her own multiversal travels. But, ooh, boy, it creates a host of problems.
Dude, it fits perfectly with, the fact that she was on that Earth for a while.
Oh, yes, it absolutely does.
I love that. And again, I don't know about you, but I 100% did not see that coming.
I did not.
I love when you get those things where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. That is awesome. Oh, that's brilliant. And you're just sitting there going, I didn't see that. I should have. And like you, immediately, and even, Trevor's thinking it as well, she has no control over these creatures. They 100% are going to, if there's no heroes around, if the heroes do take out the robots, which we know they're going to, the crime syndicate is then going to try to take out the heroes. They're going to try to conquer this world like they conquered their world. Mm-hmm. They've said it multiple times. They've tried it in the past to conquer the world, So this is not, going to end well for the Wall. This is going to be one of those things that, comes to bite her in the backside. And I think, I want to see how this plays out, where this plays out, what happens. There's so many things that are swimming around in my head right now. I'm like, oh, this is brilliant. I love this, man. I love this.
Yeah. It's the piece that I think that she's miscalculating on this. With the heroes out of the way, the crime syndicate now has the heroes out of the way. Why would they keep their bargain with the Wall? She has to know that, right?
Again, it's like, she has to know Ollie's a double agent. Does she have something in the back of her pocket that she thinks is going to work? I don't know what possibly her backup for this is, but she's got to have something. That's just the way the Wall thinks. She always thinks everybody's going to double cross her. So she's got some type of backup for them, but I don't know what her backup for them is.
Wouldn't they also know? Like, here's the thing. You're dealing with people now that operate in that realm just as regularly. So at what point in time is the Wall juggling too much? Because I think she already is. She's not I think she's anticipating Ollie, but also not anticipating Ollie. The whole thing is really, really problematic. I adore everything about this.
Yes.
It's really, really a good story that is just developing so much that I want to see. Anything about any of the tie-ins, I know we're kind of glossing over, and I'm not making light of any of them. We had the other tie-ins. Anything you wanted to spotlight in any of those? And I'm not diminishing them by not diving heavily into them. It's just we've covered a lot of ground on this episode. But is there anything out of any of the other tie-in books that you wanted to discuss?
Yes. The Wonder Woman tie-in.
Okay.
Just her and Damian teaming up. I love the little monster, and this is absolutely brilliant. How they've got Captain Boomerang, and they're trying to get Boomerang to give up the location of the prison, and they're doing their versions of torture and this and that, and it ends up being a lot of time where he's dangling. The one he's dragged behind the jet, in the ocean. I loved how they kept getting him, and it's finally the ending. How they finally get the information out of him was just such a perfect knowledge of who and what Boomerang is. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved this story because, one, it's a really cool usage of Damian. Because think back into Absolute Power when Nightwing's throwing out the commands, throwing out, hey, you do this, you do that, and tasked Diana just figuring out where the prison's located at. Damian's like, I want in, and I was like, oh, that's going to be cool. 100% paid out brilliantly. This, for me, was a great Diana story and a great Damian story because each one felt very real. Plus, Captain Boomerang was just, Boomerang. I love that he held his loyalty, and again, it's the rogue code. You don't betray. You're not a rat. And he wasn't going to rat to that. And I loved how he held out, and he finally kind of just slipped because he is a rogue. He's got that arrogance. He's got that, I don't want to say stupidity, but he does have that arrogance saying, you'll never get it out of me. I'll never tell you where it's located at. And I love that. It made me cheer, laugh. I loved how this story was laid out.
Hal's journey to try and get back the ring, to try and himself, basically take some advantage in that piece where he goes face to face with the Green Lantern Amazo and, all those pieces that are going on. The piece that I really loved is he got transported to Themyscira, to the superhero resistance, and he's finally back with the core team. It was a good way to bring him in. Not directly tied into this storyline, but for the future of the Green Lantern story. And really what I wanted to talk about here was this sorrow, this idea of bringing in now another piece of the emotional spectrum. I worry because Carol and Hal are kind of like seeming to get it together right now, which I'm really, really enjoying. But it feels like, oh no, we got something that's going to be getting in the way. And I love that sense of urgency. This has been a good book. I really like the relationship with Hal and Carol being explored in this. And the idea of them continuing to play with the emotional spectrum, it's like, again, getting my excitement and juices flowing for more of the Green Lantern stuff. It's a great way to integrate this tie-in of Absolute Power while at the same time bringing readers up to speed with some of the cool stuff that is going on in the Green Lantern book to keep them reading it as you go forward. It's definitely worth checking out to see what's been going on with their particular relationship.
Yeah, again, I love this Amazo Lantern. I actually really do enjoy what they're doing with him because, again, each of the different robots are a little bit different. Yeah. And this one's questioning the order. Eliminate or aid? Eliminate or aid? And I was like, hey, I vote for the second one. But then he shoots him with the ring, with the key. He's like, eliminate. I'm like, oh, yeah. I really do. I think this Amazo is going to be interesting on how he turns on the wall. I can see this one kind of turning on the wall because he realizes we're doing the wrong thing here. I need to do the right thing. And especially those moments where he's playing Alan Scott in chess. And the robot's like, I've got you beat. He's like, yeah, you do. It's like, oh, I thought it was 4 moves, not 3. Oh, okay. Then why are you playing? Because sometimes it's just fun to keep playing. And just introducing that concept of making choices. Yeah. And again, Alan Scott's doing a brilliant job of playing this Amazo, getting him to try to think like the hero energy that's inside him. So I want to see where this Amazo goes, what happens with this one. Because, again, this has been a brilliant usage of the different personalities that are playing into these Amazos. I'm loving it. And again, really cool Hal moments where he's just doing the scramble. We both love Jackie Chan movies because of that high energy, bob and weave, scramble, and this and that. 100% seeing Hal do that. And I love the fact that he pulled out the Condiment King's weaponry. Spicy hot mustard in your eye. I was like, yeah.
The Superman issue, I liked him and Zatanna teamed up. I thought that was a great relationship. And seeing them try to find a backdoor into the Oblivion VR. The Oblivion VR. I'm making stuff up now. Oblivion Bar. Tongue twister. The idea of them going and trying to find some of the magic users, and Superman, holding his own in the Oblivion Bar, as part of saying, like, you guys are just sitting here hiding out right now. Like, at what point in time are you going to step up? And I really loved seeing Superman be Superman, even without his powers, in the bar. We've seen this before in stories where Superman has had to step up and fight the good fight, particularly in Mogul's world and stuff like that, where, Superman is fighting in a situation where he's less than the superpowered person that we're seeing. But what I did not expect, and this is an example of where a storyline is bringing in every possible character, Neron. I did not see Neron coming as being a character that was going to somehow be interacting with all of this. And I love it. This is a guy you do not want to make a deal with because those deals are never to your advantage.
No, you never make a deal with the devil because it's always the deal. It's the deal. The danger is in the fine print and where is this going to go? And adding to your point, one of the things I loved about showing Clark's fight, what does he do when he goes up against a magic user? He punches him in the throat.
Yep.
So they can't talk and do an incantation. Again, completely shows that Clark is still Superman. He may not have the powers, but he still knows what he's doing. And he is a big old Kansas farm boy who is actually pretty tough. So you're going to throw down with the guy, you better be prepared for a fight. Don't think just because he's depowered or just because you're a magic user, I've got an advantage over Superman. No, you don't. And I loved seeing that. And again, this was great artwork in how they played it. Because they really do see Superman have a badass moment. You don't always see that. A lot of times Superman is the inspiring leader and, hope and all that dun-da-da kind of pop. Here you see him kick somebody's ass, say, who's up next? I love seeing, Superman have a badass moment.
But it's, and agreeing with everything you're saying about being badass, but a very smart moment.
Yeah.
Because in order for Superman to be able to pull off what he did, he had to pull his wealth of experience into that. Superman is one of those characters that a lot of times it's the focus on the punch and the superpowered feats and things like that. Forgetting the intelligence of the man. He is a very smart man. Yeah. And in that sequence, everything you were saying about the fight, it's not that you can punch, it's how you punch and where you punch. That is a point of time where there's a strategy there that comes from a wealth of experience. It's a different kind of strategy than Batman's. And when Superman is well written like this, you get to see these kind of stories. This is really good Superman storytelling here. Really, really enjoy seeing all those pieces. So ditto, echoing everything you're saying, but the piece that stood out for me the most was the intelligence shown by Superman in that sequence too.
Yeah.
And it's something that if you're counting that piece from him, it is what separates him a lot of times from other Kryptonians who gain those powers.
Yes. And one of the things I did love, again, you think back to, we know Clark is trained for what if I lose my powers.
Yeah.
He's trained in physical hand-to-hand combat. One, while he has his powers, it helps him control so he doesn't accidentally punch through somebody's chest. But what happens if I lose my powers? I need to be able to still fight, still need to be able to defend myself, still need to be able to be Superman. So I love the fact that, all this stuff is coming back into play and is still that. But I tell you, artwork, again, the art styling of this book is different than the regular absolute power story arc. And I tell you, I love the look of this. I especially love this last page with Neron when you show the shadow, more of the devilish look and he's underneath the tarot card that is the devil hanging on the wall. I'm like, this for me was just a brilliant usage of artwork.
Yeah, absolutely. The artwork, actually, throughout all of these books, one of the things I think that's a pure joy, and it's what I love about comics, is that each book has their own different authentic style that's going along with it. We've got some really great artists working in comics right now. Across the board. I'm really enjoying my art read-throughs just as much as I'm enjoying my, the dialogue and the narrative that's being told as well. There's a really good marriage of that at the moment going on in comics, and it's really nice to see.
And, we, of course, would be remiss if we didn't say how badass Lois was in this as well.
Oh, yeah.
She's been, again, it's Lois Lane. There's a reason, Superman is so much in love with her. It's not just because she looks pretty, she's pretty looking. She's intelligent. She is fierce. She is awesome. And I love the fact that how she stepped up with the armor and how she's actually like, no, we're going to throw down. You took over my paper. I'm taking you down. She's 100% pure resistance. And I love the fact that we get to see that side of Lois in this.
The continued storyline of Luthor's not having his memory, which is something interesting. That at some point in time his memory's coming back and he's not going to tell anybody.
Oh, big time.
He's going to play that card.
Oh, big time. Oh, yeah. Especially because he's got this relationship going on with his daughter now.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking something's going to happen with the Queen. With the Brainiac Queen is going to let him get his mind back, I think.
Yeah, who knows? It's
that's my gut is telling me. By the end of this story, we're going to have Luthor back, and he's just going to be playing it off like, who's this Lex Luthor guy? I have no idea.
It's really good stuff. This has been just a great crossover. The use of the books that they're using. I like that they're not forcing every book in the DC universe to be a part of this, because I think that would be a bit much. But I think that they're tactfully using the right books to tell expanded story in this, and it's serving all of this very, very well.
Yes.
I'm really, really enjoying Absolute Power.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
RagingBullets.com is our show website where you can find details on upcoming episodes and when our show is going to be released. We always post news and information on where the podcast is at so that we can follow along with us. Our show voicemail line is 1-440-388-4434 or drnorge on Skype. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address if you prefer to contact us that way. We have a Facebook fan page. We have a Twitter page, or X, depending on how you view it. I still call it Twitter these days. I'm going to have to break out of that habit. But we are also available on Facebook with a Facebook community that really appreciate all the people that post there. It's where I go for news and articles first every day, just because we've got some great people posting there that curate things that are of interest around the comics community. And I want to thank everyone who continues to post there. You can find me regularly on Is It Jaws? It's released every other week. It's a film review podcast using the Jaws 1 through 4 scale. Paul Spataro has been kind enough to invite me to be co-host over there. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Seguin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
Remember, DCBS is a great home for statues, apparel, and whatnot. Right now I'm looking at a really cool John Wick Chapter 3 statue with John and the dog. 25% off, $225. So thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, they have their deals of the week. Animal Man by Grant Morrison, $59.99 regularly, 50% off, only $29.99. Godzilla, original Marvel Years Omnibus hardcover, $100 regularly, 46% off, only $54. Again, there's 3 different covers for that one. And The Strange Case of Harleen and Harley trade paperback, $16.99 regularly, 50% off, only $8.49. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, we're going to be back in about a week or so to wrap up Absolute Power with Part 3. We will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. raging bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows, superheroes and their clothes, Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean, Jim, how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's